Every culture manufactures a hero to calm the crowd and a villain to tell the truth. The hero promises order. The villain explains why order cracks. We cheer for the villain, not because we agree with his crimes, but because he says the quiet parts out loud. He names desire without apology. He pulls off the mask we've glued to our own faces and asks a simple question. When did you agree to be this tame? There are things you're not supposed to admit. That the meeting bored you. That the apology wasn't sincere. That the person who humiliated you deserves consequences you can't say aloud. Villains speak that language fluently. The Joker laughs at a civilization that insists its jokes are laws. He doesn't ask permission to find the punchline offensive. He sets it on fire and calls the smoke a truth serum. Hannibal Lecter observes hypocrisy with a surgeon's patience. His appetites are a thesis about taste. Refined, horrifying, meticulously honest. Walter White stops being a victim. He swaps the vocabulary of inadequacy for the grammar of control. You call it becoming a monster. He calls it, finally, telling the truth about what he wants. You're not rooting for chaos, cannibalism, or crime. You're rooting for the electricity that runs under your own politeness, the one switch you never flip in public. Carl Jung had a word for what you're watching. The shadow. Everything you won't integrate, because it would make dinner conversations uncomfortable. Suppress anger long enough, and it doesn't disappear. It concentrates. The shadow is the storage unit, where you lock desire, envy, aggression, and the urge to dominate. The parts that scare you because they look competent. Competence without conscience is a villain. Competence without honesty is a hero. Competence with honesty is a person who doesn't need either costume. That's why the villain feels magnetic. He is integrated, just in the wrong direction. The energy is whole, misguided, immoral, destructive, yes, but whole. And the nervous system recognizes wholeness like a scent. Jung's warning was not destroy your shadow. It was meet it before it introduces itself at the worst possible moment. So you watch villains the way some people study storms, not because they want the roof ripped off, but because they'd like to know which way the wind will pull when it does. Heroes keep contracts. Villains break them. One is a manual. The other is a confession. Heroes are safe. Predictable arcs, pre-approved moral choices, tidy resolutions. They are diagrams of how to behave. Useful, yes, but the soul doesn't ask for a diagram. It asks for friction. Villains arrive with friction included. Thanos believes he's righteous. He isn't chasing pleasure. He's performing math. He courts atrocity with the logic of an accountant. And that makes you listen longer than you expected to. Anakin to Vader is not a costume change. It's a record of humiliation, loss, and a bargain with power. A tragic fall is continuity the audience can trace. That could be me if I lost the right things in the wrong order. Tyler Durden seduces with anti-consumption scripture. He's not asking for your wallet. He's asking for your mask. Destructive, yes, but he offers a clarity the hero refuses to explain without legal counsel. Heroes teach what society wants from you. Villains reveal what you already want from yourself, and why that terrifies you. The three villains we love. The tragic villain, the wound that learned to speak. You don't approve of what he became. You understand how he got there. Vader's breath is grief with a metronome. Harvey Dent flips a coin. Because chaos is easier than hope when hope failed you twice. The tragic villain reminds you that character is a decision made under pressure. You root for him to stop, not because he deserves redemption, because you want to believe you still do. The righteous villain, the logic that refuses to blink Thanos, light Yagami, any mind that mistakes moral certainty for moral correctness. They are seductive because they take your private spreadsheet, the one where you rank who deserves what, and they act on it. It's revenge rebranded as arithmetic. And you nod along until the numbers include you. The philosophical villain, the gentleman heretic Hannibal, doesn't shout. He curates. He weaponizes taste. He converts violence into etiquette, turns murder into a tasting note. Intelligence without compassion is the coldest blade. You lean in anyway, because elegance is a narcotic. The philosophical villain makes evil look like a degree you could earn if you chose to ignore the tuition cost, your humanity. What we're really cheering. Let's perform an autopsy on the applause. When you root for villains, you're not endorsing their crimes. You're admitting 4 things. You crave freedom. The freedom to say no without apologizing 3 times. To want something loudly. To stop begging for permission to take up space. You want competence. Villains are decisive. They do not outsource their will. You watch to borrow that posture for a few minutes at a time. You are tired of lying. To yourself about what you want. To others about what you forgive. The villain's honesty is immoral, but it is honesty, and your nervous system has been starved for it. You fear what you could become if you stopped pretending. So you keep pretending and keep watching because it feels safer to rent a darkness than to own a boundary. Second-person mirror. Here's the part you won't post about. There is someone you smile at and secretly resent. There is a room where your voice goes thin. There is a decision you keep outsourcing to fate, because if fate chooses, you don't have to. The villain would not wait. He would not be nice. He would be clear. And clarity is what you've been mislabeling as cruelty to avoid the consequences of using it. You don't need a lair. You need a sentence you can say without shaking. Try this one. I won't be small to keep you comfortable. No cape, no crimes, no body count. Just a boundary. The moral version of a knife. Notice the silence that follows. That's the sound of a life that finally belongs to you. Integration. Jung's exit strategy. Jung didn't want you to become your shadow. He wanted you to negotiate with it. Invite the parts you fear to the table, not to feed them, but to hear them. You'll discover the shadow doesn't only store violence, it stores vitality, your assertiveness, your hunger, your talent for saying no. Kept in the dark, those qualities rot. Brought into the light, they become posture, craft, and conviction. Integrate the power, discard the cruelty, keep the spine, lose the fangs. That is how you stop rooting for villains and start rooting for yourself. So, no, you don't love evil. You love honesty, power under control, desire that finally looks you in the eyes. The villain is a cautionary tale wrapped around a useful confession that you are bigger than the box you agreed to live in. Step out of it, not into chaos, into clarity. And if you ever forget why people cheer for the monster, remember, the loudest ovation is for the moment a human being stops lying to themselves. Every week, we open another door that was meant to stay closed. You're already here, subscribe.